homemade traditional Peruvian dessert, alfajores, basket of ham, beef, turkey, veggie gourmet sandwiches. Hoggy Ways Catering, phone number 778-245-3007.
For anybody who's new, there was one piece of advice that I received when I came here. I remember speaking to a very, very old, wise friend of mine, and he said to me that whenever you do something new, whenever you start something new or you move to a new place, you've got to give it 1 year.
The first thing that you need to do when you prepare for an interview is super important. Many people don't do it, and it's a critical error, and that is you have to research the company. So as much as possible.
It's also very important to watch where you are going to be running, so the surface. The best places to run are always the trails, or usually are the trails.
Pooja Ruprell confessed on her Passion and Perseverance book that at one time she felt that she couldn't offer anything to anyone. On this interview second part, we are going to know how the Faith into Actions book changed her life overnight. Welcome to the Immigrants Magazine's program. I am Fabiola Palomino, your host.
Faith into Action is a book. It's a book by Dr. Daisaku Ikeda, who's the third president of the Soka Gakkai International, of which I am a part, and that's where I practice Buddhism. It's a book of quotes, right? So it's a book where you have quotes on determination, you have quotes on success, you have quotes on career, quotes on every possible thing that I could have needed. So on attitude, gratitude, and I would read that to encourage myself, to motivate myself. And of course, while one has faith, so I have faith I practice Buddhism, so that's my faith. But when we are unable to use our faith to propel our lives forward, how valuable is that faith? The purpose of our faith is to help us to transform our lives in a positive way, to move ahead. And that's what Faith into Action means to me. So I would read that book and encourage myself based on where I was in that particular day and how I was feeling. And I would read snippets and hold on to them and keep repeating them and encouraging myself. Right. So my first book was actually a memoir called Journey in Faith. And my only desire with writing that book was to say thank you. I'd been in Canada, I think, 3 years. So we had moved in 2006, 2009. I wanted to write that book. And I was feeling very, very grateful for everything that I had experienced in life. And Buddhism played a big role in helping me to propel my life forward. So I just wanted to say thank you. So I decided to write my memoir and share my experiences in the form of a book. After I'd written that book, and I self-published it, I created a website, and I would just blog things that I have learned that I wanted to share with everybody else. I thought if I was encouraged by reading a particular passage, maybe I could encourage somebody else, because there are so many of us going through different challenges, and that was my only intent. But after I'd been blogging for several years, and I found many people getting onto my blog, communicating with me, contacting me, I felt encouraged. What's the fun of writing if nobody is communicating with you, right? The two-way process was very, very encouraging for me. As much as I was encouraging others, I was being encouraged. So I decided to put all my blogs together into a book titled Passion, Perseverance, and Prayer, which is essentially a daily guide. And it speaks about different attitudes. I call it my manual for happiness, right? So I've just recorded different attitudes that help us to lead a happier life. So I published my book in India. It's not on the bookshelves in Canada. It's available via Amazon.com in paperback and the Kindle version. It's available on Amazon.ca, currently only in the Kindle version, though they are trying to get it in the paperback version. And anybody who wants to reach me can also contact me through my website, and I could help them get it. It's www.poojaruprell.com.
Thank you so much.
So the cover of the book, Journey in Faith, it's got a black horse with a fly on its tail. And it's taken from a Buddhist verse, which says, a blue fly, if it clings to the tail of a thoroughbred horse, can travel 1,000 miles afar. And I don't remember, I'm not quoting it verbatim, but that's what it talks about. So in my case, the horse was Buddhism, and I am the blue fly. So by holding on to this faith, I was able to travel much further than I would have on my own steam. So I used the philosophy that I was practicing to transform my life. And that's what the black horse is. So Buddhism is not I wouldn't call it my religion. I'm a Hindu by birth, and I'm going to be a Hindu till the day I die. I practice Buddhism more as a way of life. I connect to the philosophy. I find it logical. It makes sense to me. I relate to the concepts that Buddhism talks about, right? And that's the reason I practice it. And I don't practice it as a religion. For me, it's not separate from my daily life. So Buddhism talks about an attitude, for example, start your day with gratitude, end your day with gratitude. I want to imbibe that concept in my daily life. It's not something that when I go for a Buddhist meeting, I feel grateful, I'm happy, I'm smiling, I move away from the Buddhist meeting and I'm back to being cranky and rude to everybody and unappreciative, right? What resonates with me about Buddhism is the fact that I can apply it to my daily life. It gives me material, it gives me opportunity to interact with other people so that I can consistently stay in the orbit of Buddhism. And it's not something in isolation. You attend one meeting a month, or you go every Sunday and then you pray and then you forget about it. That's not what it is to me. It is a life-transforming philosophy. So some people do yoga, right? To some people, if they run on the treadmill, that helps them to feel better about life. You know, they let their anger go, they let their negativity go. For them, that is what they do to feel stronger, wiser, and happier, right? Some people they just want to read. Some people want to chant Om. Some people want to go to the temple. Some people want to go to church, right? Whatever it is that helps you to be stronger, wiser, and live a better life. So Buddhism speaks about 3 pillars, which is faith, practice, and study. So faith, you have to have faith. You go to a doctor and you're sick. If you don't have faith in the doctor, he could be the best doctor in the medical field, but you won't get cured, right? Because in your mind, you've decided that his medicine is not going to work for you. So faith is critical. So I came into Buddhism with that feeling that I've got to try it. I've got to give it my best shot to see if it works for me. And then there's practice for oneself and practice for others. So I practice for myself. I practice because I want to live a happy life. That's the reason I practice, right? But then there's also the other aspect of practicing for others. So as much as it's important to me that I'm happy myself, I want to see others around me happy as well. How much fun is it to be happy in isolation, right? I want my family to be happy. I want my friends to be happy. So you practice for oneself and practice for others. And then the third component is study. So we read about it to understand how to apply the concepts in our life. Like I said, so it's not something you go for every Sunday. You sit there, you pray, and you come back. No, that's not what it is. It talks about many, many different attitudes we need to have to live a happy life. So for example, it talks about a concept called oneness of self and environment, right? So we are a product, we influence our environment as much as our environment influences us. So when I remember that concept, and I'm in a situation sometimes where I'm having a negative conversation with somebody, I realize that I am contributing to that negative conversation. There's some energy, some vibes that I am also contributing. So the moment I shift, the environment around me will change, right? So there are many, many such concepts that Buddhism talks about, and reading them over and over again helps me to apply them in my life. Just reading them once sometimes doesn't help. Everything that we do comes back to us, right? Whether it may not come back today, it may not come back tomorrow, but I believe in the eternity of life, right? So the law of cause and effect is always at work in every single life on the planet. So if I do good to somebody, if I'm kind, I'm going to get that kindness back. It may not come back directly to me. It may come back to my children. It may come back to somebody I love. So if I am being kind to my friend's daughter, for example, when my kids need it, my son has gone to university and he needs kindness, somebody else's mom is going to be kind to him. And to me, it's come back to me because somebody being kind to my son and helping him makes me happy, right? So to start with my life here, I'm filled with gratitude. I feel blessed, very, very blessed to be in this part of the world. It's a beautiful country. It's filled with abundance, right? From where I come and where I grew up, I lacked that, right? So this is 360 degrees different from where I was in my life. So I feel very, very grateful to be part of it. And for anybody who's new, there was one piece of advice that I received when I came here. I remember speaking to a very, very old, wise friend of mine, and he said to me that whenever you do something new, whenever you start something new or you move to a new place, you've got to give it 1 year.
You finish your studies at university or college. Now it's time to start looking for a job. But before getting that dream job, for sure, you are going to have an interview. Employment tips with Gwen Pawlikowski, next.
Hi, I'm Gwen Pawlikowski, and this is your employment tips segment. Today, I'd like to discuss what you can do to prepare for an interview. So the first thing that you need to do when you prepare for an interview is super important. Many people don't do it, and it's a critical error, and that is you have to research the company. So as much as possible, find out what you can. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time, but that's time enough to go to the company website and read everything you can about this company. Do a Google search about this company. Find out everything that you can about the company and try to remember as much as you can. That's super important. If you have a chance, it's wonderful if you can talk with people who already work there to find out a bit about the company, but that doesn't always happen for people. So first and most important thing that you should do is research. If you go in sort of armed with knowledge, it helps you so much. Now, the second thing that you need to do to prepare for an interview is to just prepare yourself, because you want to make sure that you're giving the best personal presentation that you can. All right? So we are not all fashion models, and we all don't wear designer clothes, but you need to prepare so that you have clothes that are maybe like slightly more formal than what you see other people wearing. So if you have a chance to kind of go to the organization the day before your interview and just kind of observe what people are wearing, that's great. Dress a little bit better than those people, okay? Now, if everybody's wearing jeans and t-shirts and running shoes, you probably shouldn't wear like your most excellent suit or your best dress, right? That's going to be too formal. But wear something that's a little bit more formal. And it's never, never, never a good idea to wear jeans to an interview. All right, so save your jeans for after when you want to relax. Okay, so think about your clothes. Make sure that your clothes are pressed or ironed. Make sure that you're wearing things that make you look great. Again, you don't have to be wearing your designer clothes, but just clothes that really give an impression that you care and that you've done everything that you can to prepare for this time. Now, this is probably the same advice that everyone's mother gives them. So I'm going to give it to you too. Just make sure that you look your best, that you're showered, that you've kind of groomed yourself a little bit for the interview. Now, the next thing that you need to prepare after researching and after sort of preparing your personal presentation is you have to prepare your mind, right? So you have to be feeling confident, and you have to be kind of feeling ready. Now, that's going to include maybe imagining the questions that someone might ask you. So it's very likely that the employer will ask you to tell about yourself, right? And that means talk for about a minute and give kind of a general summary, not more than a minute. So you can practice that. You can practice talking, very quickly about yourself, how many years of experience you have, what's your relevant education, one or two of your skills, and maybe what you're like as a person, right? That's 45 seconds to a minute of what or who you are, okay? You can also imagine that someone at the company will ask you, why do you want to work here, right? So have that answer ready, right? You know why you want to work there? Practice it, write it down. Like, you don't want to go in and spout out answers like you're a robot. That's not my point, but anticipate that they're going to ask you particular things. They want to know why you're interested in them. And you should be able to clearly say that and positively say that. And it's a good opportunity for you to show your interest and your enthusiasm about the organization. You can also count on them asking if you have any questions. So at the very end of the interview, they'll probably say, do you have any questions for us? We've asked you so many. So prepare a couple of questions. Ask them what a typical day might be like in the position that you're hiring for, or ask them what might be the challenges of that person's job. There are lots of examples of this, and there are lots of things that I'm sure you'll be curious about after researching the company and thinking about this. Now, one more thing I'm going to tell you about to kind of prepare your confidence is something called a power position. And if you're really interested in this, you can watch a great TED Talk with Amy Cuddy about power positions. But there are particular things we can do, particular postures where you can just stand, for instance, with your arms out, for instance, for a couple of minutes. And you can do this, maybe just in the washroom or something, just half an hour before your interview. But just stand and kind of try to imagine yourself doing really well in this interview and feeling really comfortable and confident and positive. So building up your confidence and trying to kind of anticipate positive things. Now there's one more thing that you need to do to prepare for your interview, and that is to prepare a reference list. So a reference list should have the names of at least 3 people who are going to say positive things about you from previous work. So probably former supervisors, definitely not anyone who's related to you. Friends are okay, but former supervisors or former coworkers are the best. These can be from volunteer work, that's fine, but people who've seen you in a kind of work capacity. Have a list of those people's names and how they can be easily contacted ready, because at the end of the interview, it's very likely that the interviewers will ask you to leave this list with them, and you want to be prepared and ready. Now, finally, when you leave the interview, be sure to ask for maybe a business card or an email of the people who've interviewed you, and get the spelling of their names right, write them down, so that you can also send them a thank you card. Because within about a day of being interviewed, I want you to send a thank you card to those interviewers, not a thank you card, a thank you email to those interviewers, and basically say thanks for taking the time to talk with me and to find out about me, and if there's any more information I can give you, I'd be happy to. Let me know, okay? That's the kind of thing that you need to say in your thank you email to follow up after the interview. Well, I've talked a lot about the things that you need to do to prepare for an interview. And that's all the time that we have today in this employment segment. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I'm Gwen Pawlikowski.
Doing sports could change your philosophy of life forever. In our previous Ready, Set and Go segment, we learned how to get our body in optimal conditions before starting to run. Are you ready to learn more? Ready, Set and Go segment next.
Hello, it's me again, Lluvia. Welcome again to this Ready, Set, Go segment. And last time we talked about warming up. Now we're going to talk about I'm going to share with you some tips about running. I'm not a professional, but I've been running for 2 years. So this is what I've learned so far. So the first thing is every time you run, there's an impact of 2-3 times your body weight on your knees. And we want to be very careful with those knees because we only have one set of knees. So you have to watch your step, right? Every time you step, you're going to do it very softly on the ground. You don't want to hear your steps. If you're hearing your steps, you're having a lot of impact and you're in risk of having an injury or an injury on your knees. So you have to be very soft on your knees. And the second thing is you always have to be able, at least when you're a beginner, you always have to be able to speak, speak fluently while you run. If you can't speak, it means you're going too fast. So slow down. And so basically those are the 2 tips. I'm gonna continue running. Join me and please watch your step because we don't want an impact, we don't want any injuries on your knees. It's also very important to watch where you are going to be running, so the surface. The best places to run are always the trails, or usually are the trails. And then you can also choose, like if it's winter time and it's not safe to go to the trail, you're going late in the afternoon, then you should just use a running track. And then if you're gonna run in the road, then just don't run on the sidewalk, always run on the asphalt because that's softer for your knees. And always remember to go slowly, and if you're gonna be learning to run, then use an interval program in which you're going to be alternating running with walking, and just do it gradually. And sooner than what you think you'll be running, if you start running with 1 minute, then if you do it continuously for let's say 13 weeks, then you are ready maybe to do a 10 run and then 10 minutes running and then 1 minute walking. Drink lots of water. I personally like drinking a lot of water the day before, like sips, I like having my water and drinking a sip here and there. And if you're gonna go, of course, for a longer run, then you have to take your water with you. Hydration is a very important part of the running process. If you feel fatigued, you feel tired, you might be dehydrated. So just continue drinking water and smile. The other very important thing when you run is that you have to choose the appropriate kind of surface. So usually the best places to run in order to take care of your knees are the trails or paths. Trails or paths have a soft surface that helps to prevent injuries on the knees. If it's winter time, of course, and it's in the night time, then you have to choose a running track. And if you're going to be running in the road, just remember, don't use the sidewalks, always use the asphalt because the asphalt is softer for your knees. So enjoy your run and always remember to do it slowly, do it gradually, and you can always follow a program to learn how to run if you have never done it, in which you start by walking, running, alternating, let's say running for a minute, and then within let's say 2-3 months, then you can end up, and you'll be surprised yourselves, running for 10 minutes and just walking for 1 minute. Enjoy your run.
Do you want to know what happened when our camera was on? Behind the scenes, next.
Hi, I'm Gwen Pawlikowski, and this is your Employment Tips segment. Today, I'd like to talk about the things that you need to do before you prepare. Oh, sorry, not before you prepare.
3, 2, 1.
Sometimes reading a book could change your own life in a positive sense. For our guest, the reading of Fate into Actions book was her best ally at her very tough moments. Now she has become a woman with more determination on her life. We are on Facebook and on Twitter. Have a wonderful time. A disfrutar de este lindo sol que ya está cerca a Vancouver. Bye.
Nora Valdés te ofrece orientación y la información que necesitas para iniciar tu nueva vida aquí en Canadá. Para mayor información llame al teléfono 604-351-0625. Problemas de relaciones interpersonales, separación, divorcio, problemas con niños, adolescentes y adultos.
Soy la doctora Yolanda Montoya, soy Clinical Counselor y mi teléfono es el 604-861-1071.
I would remember those words, that you have to give it 1 year before you decide that this is going to work for you or not going to work for you. And he was so right. By the end of those 12 months, I knew that I had a life here. I was looking forward to it. Not that I didn't miss my family, not that I didn't miss India, but I knew that I could be happy here as well. So give it time. I think that's critical. We get impatient. The other thing we tend to do is we tend to draw comparisons, right? A lot. Oh, this is the way things used to happen at home. This is the way we did it there. And when we draw those comparisons, we feel that what we have currently in Canada is not good enough. And what we had there was more attractive, more appealing. And then we start to yearn for that, right? So it's not a good idea to